Hi everyone, we're live. Let me just verify real quick. Should be straight live on the. No, it's a little bit delay. I think we are. No, we're waiting. Oh yes, we're live. Nice. And on Twitch, that always works. Hopefully, we have some viewers via Twitch as well. Let's verify that we are ready for showtime. It says I'm offline. We can check back on that in a second. Live.
So I get us on Twitch. Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Let me do one thing that I forgot recently, starting again after summer. Let me make sure that everyone in Meetup knows that we are ready to rock and roll. We have this link here. Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining yet again. It's been a while since July when we last had a meetup. How have you been, Rodolfo?
Yeah, I've been fine working, working from home for months now. But
yeah,
healthy. That's the important part.
Yes, it's the same for me. I think we're all going through phases in this pandemic, but and we're doing the best we can with home office time. It's nice with home office in my mind, but it can be a bit much of the good stuff when it's sort of half forced. We are online. Awesome. Great. Let's just start with the good stuff to begin with. I'm going to share my screen. And that is us. Woohoo! Beautiful people. So, program intro, that is now. We are today not having a talk. So,
sorry, I don't see the slides.
Oh yeah, that's because I'm not sharing them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rodolfo.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So these are the beautiful. Let me go back then.
So
these are the beautiful people that we were talking about. For those of you who were wondering what I was talking about, that's nice. I see we have 9 people viewing. That's awesome. Feel free to say hi in the chat. We'd like to have some interaction today, getting some questions, topics, and maybe some opinions from you guys. That would be awesome. Let me just reply to Christian. Sure thing, would love for you to join. So we'll have a surprise guest in the studio in a couple of minutes, I think. That's going to be nice. Okay, so I was saying intro, that's what we're doing now. Happening in discussion is what we're going to do next. And it's going to kind of float and mesh together with questions and chat, I think, because we have no talk today. I think we also mentioned that back in June. We would love to have more talk from people in the audience. And also maybe if you can give us some pointers about people you'd like to talk. We can also reach out, but we'd love for your help to make... to get a bit more content for these streams, though I think we'll have a nice time together today. It might be shorter than usual, it might not, but we're ready to take it as it comes. And we've prepared a couple of things, and we left a lot of room open to make it interactive, so we can do this together with you all watching. I think I'll just stop the presentation for now, and we'll have a look at an email we got as organizers, because we are part of the Go Developers Network. That means that the kind folks at Google are paying for the account. So if you've ever gone to our meetup page, which you probably have since you're here, you might have seen that it's part of Go Developers, which has 184 groups. And that means that they are paying for our account, which is awesome. So I don't have to pay it anymore. And it also means that we get some information from them. This is the first time it's done formally like this, which is nice. There was the urging to go and have a 10-year celebration dinner last year, which we did, or with Rodolfo. All credit to Rodolfo, which Rodolfo put together. And now they're inviting us to a Google Open Source Live, which is happening on the November 5th. And if we understand it correctly, this is something new that they will be doing every month. And I don't think Go necessarily will be part of it every time, but for this specific event, there will be a Go focus from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time, which we've calculated to being Bloop, bloop. Nope. Something is wrong here.
It's around 7, I think 7 p.m., right? So 19.
Oh yeah, it must be it.
19 to 21.
Oh yeah, it says local time. I thought I'd prepare this. Let's do it again. So 5th, your local time, which is not correct. We want to slide it over to their time 9. Yeah, you're 100% correct. So 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. They will be sharing some updates on everything from Go basics to package discovery and editor tooling. And Khan Academy will also go through a use case where they talk about how they have been using Go to save money and time. So I think it will be fun. I'll try to be there. And they will have an after party as well, which is interesting. Though that might not be at 11. I think it's after the whole day, but let's see. Now that I think about yeah, that's correct. I think so, yeah.
So Rob, okay. Christian needs the link to join.
Oh yeah, I've sent it to him, but maybe I sent it to the wrong place.
Yeah, he's asking on YouTube for what to do next.
What to do next? Christian, check your Twitter DMs. And if there's nothing there, if you don't find it, let me know again. We'll figure this out. So the link in the slides is j.mp/go-day. And then you get to this beautiful page, and then you can register. And it's nice for us that the first part is Go, or actually not the first part, after it's been on for, oh yeah, here it says 8 p.m., 6 p.m. I think they haven't really...
Local time.
No, I think they haven't adjusted for the difference.
Yeah, so that's GMT plus 2. So that one is showing local time there for you.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
So something is wrong here. But I would trust this.
It's just different. It's just different time zones. It's at the same time.
No, but we are GMT plus 2 currently, no? With the
Yeah. And that one Pacific will be in the morning.
So current, we don't have to spend time on this, guys, but current time GMT plus 2, or I should write it differently, I guess. Okay. No, that doesn't work. Oh, here we go. So I agree. So current time is 6 p.m. So that's correct. So if they're saying that this should be my time, this tool or that is wrong, right? Because we are 6. You're completely right. You're completely right. I read this tool wrong twice today. So it's good that it's only me that's doing it wrong, because it's no matter what you listen to, you'll get it right if you're not named Robert.
Yeah. Well, we have to be careful. We have to be careful with the change of time here, right? I think this is exactly between like these 2 weeks where Europe and US are out of sync on the time zone. So
yeah.
Hello, everyone.
That's why I was worried. Hi, Christian. Thanks for joining so spontaneously. Yes.
Hi, Christian.
Okay. We'll tune you in, Christian. It's a bit spontaneous, and we were just asking Christian today, hey, would you like to join maybe? Because we're going to have an interactive and session and talk about some topics. And he saw it late. That's all my fault. And now he's joining. I could have sent it like 3 weeks ago to ask you. So it's all on me. You can join us on Twitter, and you can join us on meetup.com. If you are not here because you know what meetup.com is and you are part of our group, if you just stumble across this stream, let's just mention that this is a meetup that normally happens in person, which is in the format of listening to 1 or 2 talks and eating pizza and maybe drinking some beer or water and talking together, socializing. And it's around the topic of the Golang programming language, and the local group is located in Vienna, Austria. Feel free to still stick around if you're into this kind of thing. We certainly are. So I organize more meetups as well, which are also sponsored by EPCONT. That's Free Code Camp Vienna, which is turning 5 this year. So we'll have an extra special 5-year episode or meetup in November. So register for that if you're interested. That's a sort of beginner-oriented, but also intermediate if you want to learn some more, or if you want to help teach people first learning to code. It's centered around JavaScript, front end and back end. But we are still open to facilitate talks or stuff to do with programming in general. So it doesn't have to be only JavaScript. Vue.js is a bit more straightforward. That's the local meetup group for the JavaScript framework, Vue.js. And I'm a front-end developer, so that maybe explains, or by day, so that maybe explains why I organized 2 other meetups like that. Couple of words just about our sponsor. If you've been to these meetups before, you will have heard this before. Epcont is an IT services company located mainly in Austria, headquartered in Vienna, or at least that's where most people are, in the Millennium Tower. About 500 people employed, doing projects for big customers from Post to Red Bull to ÖBB, etc. Also smaller projects. We are unfortunately not having any purely Golang oriented roles. We are mostly a Java shop. So if you know Java, let us know. I know, unfortunately, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, that there aren't necessarily so many Golang jobs in the market in Austria. So this might be a second best thing. It does not mean that you cannot try and influence the use of Golang, but it's also often up to the customer what they want to use. I know we have some usage in DevOps, which I think most people have with Kubernetes and stuff. So there are, with some roles, a higher possibility that you will get to write some Golang. We're also looking for front-end developers, business analysts, data analysts, etc. So if you are interested in anything like that, or if you know someone that is looking for a job in tech, we are also hiring actively during COVID-19. So please contact me directly or have a look at what's on the website. This is basically just what we've already been talking about. That's the program for today. I don't think I've announced it here before, so I have a plan to start a new meetup/podcast. It will probably not start until December for a couple of reasons. I was thinking about starting it earlier, but the plan is to organize live streams like this, where we are live recording the podcast episode, and then it will also be made available as a podcast. It will not always be about Golang, probably not so often, but if you're looking for a job in tech, that will at least be the focus in the beginning, probably mostly centered around Vienna and Austria, because that's what we know the most about, but feel free to sign up and have a look.
And will this be a platform for people to look, or is it like best guides for how to apply for a job or how to write job offerings?
It could be. It's a good idea. My sort of like ambition there is only to maybe make available a Discord, either free or paid or a combination, depending, because it will take some time to kind of make a community like that. But the core idea is simply to have content, being it interviewing a guest or a panel talking about a topic they know stuff about, on the topic of just looking for a job. We won't necessarily facilitate job ads and stuff like this, though that could be a expansion for the future. The first episode will be most likely me and Daniel Deutsch talking about the talk we gave about 3 years ago on going from self-taught programmer to getting our first developer job. And so we'll kind of revisit that 3 years later and talk about that journey of, if you want to get a job and change career, could be a good idea to learn to code, and how we did just that and where we are now. And then we'll have topics like this. I've been talking about Rodolfo about joining for having a talk about his experience with switching countries for not necessarily for job purposes, but switching countries and having jobs in different countries. I'm curious to know your experience there, and it's also something that I have done. So yeah, that was a lot of extra marketing for something upcoming. So stay tuned.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice project.
Yes. So if you've been to these meetups before, we make the slight joke that we do have pizza and drinks waiting for you, but it's hard to distribute that now in Corona time. So we distribute it virtually for now, and we'd love to have a physical meetup again and to meet you all when the situation permits. Yes. So, Christian, let us tell you what we're going to do today.
Okay, so what have I signed up for?
Yes. We generally just love your input in chat, and also last time you had you gave a speech, and then afterward, now you gave a talk, and then afterwards, there were questions from the audience, and it flowed really well. So we thought we could sort of milk you for all you're worth,
Sure.
and get the same thing flowing.
Thank you for having
no,
me.
well, we thought it's nice. We thought it could be a nice thing to try out. So I listened to. I think Rodolfo has been reading the whole thing. He did better than me. I listened to the half of the thing. And we didn't give Christian any chance, so he's just here to nod and smile and say his words on top of ours. And this won't be the whole thing we're going to do today. Like, we'll see if we get questions from the audience, and we'll also, I'm sure, we'll spur our own conversation on top of this. But one thing we can start by doing is that this is a podcast. If you don't already know about it, it's I recommend it. It's called Go Time by the Changelog people. I think you'll find it everywhere if you're using Apple stuff, or if you're using Pocket Cast or any other podcast app, or you just check online like here. And they've been going for a long while, and I think they also had help me with names, the founders of Gophercon, the great people. I think they started the Go Time. And now I'm totally. We'll figure that out soon. Their names are easy to Google. Now there's different hosts, and the topic here is how to introduce Go to your team, because I think it's a good topic also for us in Austria, because we've been talking about this in some of the meetups where people are feeling like there aren't so many jobs available when they're looking for Golang jobs in Vienna. Remote is an option, but it's not something everyone wanted at least to do. Maybe it's changed a bit now with the new situation. But how can you make the best of your situation? Maybe you're working in a company that you enjoy. I should take away those things. And let me just do that now. Maybe you're working in a company that you quite like, and it would be awesome if you get to write a little Go there, which might maybe eventually spur something more around that. And let me just start by saying maybe that one of the points they made was one way that it could maybe be possible is if you are able to either sneak in a small project like a command line tool in an existing code base, or you try to get buy-in from a product manager or your manager to say, hey, can I try out doing this, because it's easy to teach others because it's Go and the syntax is easy. Keep sticking to simple tooling. You can maybe make something small that others can easily take over, not dependent on the person making it, and see how it goes. So that was one idea mentioned. And I'll stop talking for a second.
Well, I'm already taking up with the sneaking in stuff. So I would say sneaking in some small tool would be best if it's not even seen by the people using it, or depending on it, let's say it this way. Say you have some sort of a build pipeline where you have to do some processing in the background, or you have some small helper which helps you releasing your software and bumping the next version and doing all the Git magic that is necessary for that. If there is a corresponding small script in Go and it's hidden away by the CI, for instance, or some sort of other automation tool where you simply press a button, then that's great, because the people don't even see there is something new, different, whatever, and it's just running and simply doing that.
What happens when you are sick for 3 weeks and they have to change it? Sure, and they need to revive you for.
This is sort of a race against time. So how do you manage to get something in there without people that much of knowing, and then quickly say, okay, by the way, this is running now in Go, and see, it's these 20 lines of code, or some numbers out of my arm sleeve. They then make it easy for the people to realize, okay, yeah, right, it's definitely for that job. These 20 lines, they make us do that quickly or easier. Because the hurdle that I have, for instance, I was in a few projects the past year where some of these small scripts were necessary, and the default script language for this was Python in that case. Why? Because it was pretty much always available on the Linux machines where we were running. So it was a given, so you didn't have to install anything. You simply pointed your command line to that one, run that Python script, and it did what it did. With Go, you have at least the hurdle you would need to install the Go compiler for that, or the Go tool itself to make that run. That's not by default on typical machine. And this is what I mean with trying to get it in somewhat sneakily that the people don't even realize it. If you have it combined with a Docker image, for instance, where you simply run it, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, Christian, the way you're saying, like, I agree with you, but whenever you like grow a bit more, like if the script doesn't need only the Python standard library, like you start needing to install stuff, then maybe I think the situation changes a bit in favor of Go, because with Go you can ship the whole binary and you wouldn't need necessarily like the Go toolchain installed on the machine. So it doesn't work exactly like as a script that you ship the code, but you ship the binary. And then like no wonder, like, okay, does it need internet access? Does it need to install something? How do I get the thing installed? You just drop a file there, right?
Do I understand you correctly? So you would even go as far as to whatever needs to be done, the task is pre-compiled and you have this binary then already available.
Yeah. So I have like when we started talking, I had one example in mind that happened in a previous place I worked. So we had a tool to get some data out of requests. And this tool was originally written in Java, and it was something that was only like for the developers, really, like, and it took a very long time to run, because whenever you would run it, it was, I don't know, some either with make or something that it would compile the tool, and it would take maybe 1 or 2 minutes to run. And one day I decided, okay, I think that it's such a small tool, I can rewrite it and Go in a weekend or something. And because more and more people like outside of the team started to ask for like a similar tool. And I was able to build this thing in Go and give them a binary, said, okay, here is, you run this thing with the input data that you have, and you get the result. And like, they don't care what the thing is written in. And I didn't have to like go to lengths to explain like how to install anything and so on. So I think that was a quick win for me. Right, so of course like it ran in less than a second, right? You just like run it and you get the result. So boom. That's it. Yeah.
So if your audience needs something that pretty much has batteries included, so the binary, the final executable, then yeah, that's good. Because in case of the Java executable or Java case, for instance, you still need the Java VM to run it.
Yeah.
Or in Python, you need the Python interpreter.
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Rob, did you run into something like this, that you just hacked a Node.js script, or how did you handle it?
Well, yeah, I've automated like GitHub Actions and stuff with the Node script, and you can do JavaScript stuff there. But it would be nice to, next time I'm in that situation, to be like, hey, can I maybe use Go? Can I sneak in something here? But we have too tight of a review process in my current project, so my colleagues would be like, no, I understand Node, I can write JavaScript, but like if I'm gonna maintain this is a no-go for me. So yeah, it's probably easier if you are already in an environment where you're doing like systems programming, or if you're doing DevOps, or if you're doing backend stuff. But I'd be curious if we could sneak something in on the front end side. Probably with CI/CD stuff like we're talking about. Yeah.
So I'm not thinking whether or not it's the good approach to make it sneakily, because Rob, you already mentioned the point about maintenance. If you're the only person to know about it, well, then you surprise attack the team and say, okay, this is the tool that powers our pipeline, and it's now, I don't know, 1,000 lines of code big because accumulated over the past months, and now I need to go on holiday 4 weeks. See you. Have
Bye-bye.
Fun. So the more viable approach will most likely be to somehow, showcase a problem to the team and then say, okay, how about the dear team, we look at this and see how easy it is. So
yeah.
And the second thought now comes to my mind: to which degree are we now rediscussing the same points that they covered on Go time? So
I think that's fine. We probably are. And if like all of the audience have already listened to Code Time because it's such an amazing podcast, we do apologize. But we thought it could be a nice way of having a soft topic that don't need us to discuss and show code on screen, but we could still have some relevant and nice information. Maybe we can just pause it there and we can always get back to it, because one thing that we can talk a little bit about is maybe there was a nice link shared here, at least when I checked in my tool. Let me see. Yes, so this one I haven't seen before. So if you're looking for a Go job, which is sort of like why we're talking about this, like how can you do more Go, or another way of getting to write more Golang professionally would be to change job. There is this Twitter account and apparently also Golang Projects website where they post about jobs.
Okay, you said you posted a link. Where did you post it?
Yeah, I was stupid not to share my screen. So there we go. So
thank you.
You're welcome. So here is the Twitter account. It's Golang Projects. And from what I understand, they're posting Golang jobs also on Twitter. So if you prefer Twitter, you can probably just hit the bell icon, or it's not called that here, right? Yeah, it's something like a bell icon, and you get all the notifications, or you can just frequent their job site. I know there are other places, like even something like Go Remote Jobs, I think, but I probably won't find it now. Otherwise, when it comes to yes, nice, a nice one.
Yeah.
We Love Golang I've seen before, and then it's more on the this was one I thought about. I think Go Remotely, Remote OK, and does we work remotely. So now I mentioned this to some people before in meetups, but let's start with the ones that are relevant. Remote jobs for everyone, so that's not Go jobs, but that would still be relevant. The one that seems to have, We Love Go. So you have We Love Golang. They post jobs, remote Go jobs, and then we have Golang projects. So if you are looking, have a look for those. And then more in general, I would recommend We Work Remotely. That's a quite standard, nicely designed remote job website. And then there is Remote OK. The only trouble I had with this one last time, especially on mobile, it's quite a bit slow on the initial load, but maybe they've improved that. But there's tons of jobs here as well. And then Go Remotely was the one we looked at, but that's also in general like a place to look for remote jobs. Any thoughts from you guys on getting a Golang job or resorting to remote if it's nothing available?
Okay, for me, about a year ago, I thought I wouldn't like to do remote jobs because I'm more used to pair programming and having people directly sitting next to me and talking with everyone. Now, then 2020 happened, and we are pretty much, or at least I am, now getting used to, or at least forced to work only via Microsoft Teams, in essence. I still miss the direct communication part, and so whether or not it's Go or not, at least for this point for me, it's secondary. I still would like to have a job where it would be in person, and also I still hope that it's not permanent. So the next 5 years, it's that we are bound to our living spaces. As for Go itself, I also said a year ago or 2 years ago I would like to have a job in Go. So we are the circle problem. We don't have jobs in Vienna, or at least that many jobs in Vienna, because nobody writes in Go, and we have not people writing in Go because no jobs.
Yeah. I think it's like every time we keep talking or we talk about this, I have a feeling that it's more popular with Go, especially in certain circles in the US. Maybe because there are more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
London as well. There were in the Gophercon last year, 800 people, for instance, and the Go meetup in London is when it was physical, it had a waiting list for the space because it couldn't hold more than 100 or 150 people. So perhaps it's the industry, perhaps it's the location. I don't know.
Maybe it's bigger. Maybe there's more startups in the, what should we call it? DevOps, CI/CD space, Kubernetes space in UK and US. I guess those, if you get like big companies where that's what they do, they will need a lot of developers, but no Golang.
So perhaps we can't then compare because we are at a different stage of evolution, and we're still in Vienna. We're still at the grassroots movement. So yeah, we still need to somehow be in a lucky position where, I don't know, perhaps a greenfield project comes up and the people, or at least the team, is willing enough to try something new, and you have one, ideally two, that are the spearheads that know about Go and have the proper answers to the questions that the people will have at the very beginning. To get over a certain tipping point where then people say, okay, yeah, it's doable. I guess this is the core thing, to get people see, yes, whatever problem they have, be it now the actual product or be it a small script or a small task that they need to have as a utility for, to reach a tipping point where they see, yes, using Go makes this quite quickly or easily.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever the factors are.
I wrote in the chat, but for those of you who don't read the chat, I was asking who in the chat are looking for a Golang job currently. So feel free to shout out and we can get some interaction. Sorry to interrupt you, Rodolfo.
Yeah, no problem. I just thought like perhaps one thing that maybe the case here is that if you work with Go, you don't work only with Go. At least that's my case. So you wouldn't find necessarily like a Go shop or some place that works only with Go, but Go as an addition to something else, right? So we did meet. I remember like one startup gave a talk. Was it last year or early this year? And I think they work mostly or exclusively with Go. But I would think more that's more like the exception than the norm. And again, like in my case, I get to work with Go, but I also work with other technologies. So I think that's it's also more like in line with what was the podcast that we started talking about, right? That we have already, like we're already working on something and we can add Go as a nice, like, to solve problems where it fits well, right? So either for making it easier to deploy or making something that was slow faster, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you need the proper problem to have Go being the proper answer. Otherwise you're essentially just proposing Go for the sake of having Go, so that you have satisfied your urge to write Go code.
So when you're going to re-engineer a game into Golang, then
it's not a very compelling reason. Yeah.
Nice. This is breaking news. We just had an email coming in again because Go Developer Network.
Proper movement. We have breaking news. Wait.
We have breaking news. This just in. Wait. What was it? Okay. So what they're saying is that this is gonna be the Gophercon 2020 pre-conference meetup. They're asking us to schedule it in our meetup account, so we're going to do just that. So it will be, if you are in the meetup group, you will get notification. It will be next week, Wednesday. We're extremely excited to announce the Gophercon 2020 pre-conference meetup. Whether you're going to Gophercon or not, this is time for us all to get together and get excited about the Go community coming together in this strange times to support our fellow Gophers. So and so will be there, and across the world, and pandemic and collaboration between GoBridge, Google Developers Network, and Gophercon. So you can register here, and we'll make sure that we'll share the event with you all. So suddenly, like from not so much happening for a while, now we have an event next week and then the week after. So there's a lot of Go goodies coming up for all of you. And with that, I'll do Gophercon founders. But actually, I have a book that they wrote because I was struggling with the names earlier. 1 second. Wrong book.
Rob goes to library.
Yes.
Taking one book. Oh no, wrong book. Another book.
To the live caption.
So the names that failed me earlier was Brian Kettleson and Eric St. Martin. I think they were the first hosts for Go Time. They kept the show running for a long while, and I remember that it was really entertaining. But Go Time has had a couple of rounds of new hosts, and I feel that the current ones are also doing a great job. This is a book that I was looking for, Go in Action. It's written by those two gentlemen plus Bill Kennedy, who was on the last podcast we had in July, talking about generics. So that was me going to the library.
Have you read the book already?
No, I've like many of those books. I read a bit of it and then I do some of the exercises and then I don't continue because I feel it's cheating if I do more without actually implementing it. So that's me.
So it comes with exercises as well then. But is it at least
yeah, both of these. The other one is building RESTful web services with Go. I can't really say much about it, but that's the Pact publishing book. But yeah, we could maybe give a talk with a half review and some exercises. That could be interesting. And the other one has like going through all of the code for making also something interactive. And it doesn't easily for me to figure out what they're gonna make. I can't remember.
The one
but it's a bit of the same.
Building REST services in Go, and the first one was Go in Action?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay. So 2 new books to order next time.
Yes. We can start a book club, or actually, I'm not going to say that because that I need to commit a lot then to. But if people are interested, we could potentially. Yeah, I could be the host. There you go. Good. Yes. With a full-time job and kids and 3 or 4 meetups, it's my time is scarce, but it's all good. I'm not complaining. Good. So. Do we have any other? Is there something interesting to cover in the Golang world from recently, or any other topics to go over? We already touched on the upcoming 1.15 last time, but now it's released, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the 0.3 patch release, I think, a week or 2 ago. Some bug fixes, so it's already. Yeah, the 1.15 is already ironed out.
Settled in. Right, so
good.
A cross idea a question that came to my mind now.
Yeah.
This new chipset that is all the rage now. Is it the RISC-V? No. Or is it Spear-V? There is one new chipset that is going to be the generic one, especially for small devices. And I was now making the question or the questioning connection whether or not Go is going to support this soon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. ARM unveils new chip made for small devices in February. Might that be the one? Edge AI? No. ARM. Blah 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 blah.
Was it ARM? Oh man, no RISC.
Maybe
something. Was it something with RISC?
Something RISC. Yeah.
RISC-V.
Here's something. Everything you need. No, that's ARM processors.
Okay. Raw ideas without proper foundation. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying. Doing things that make you perhaps regret pulling me on the show.
No. This is good. Let's do more of this. I like if you get like 5 suggestions and 4 pan out.
So we got a reply on Twitch. Could it be RISC-V?
Yeah. So Total Root, thank you. You're saying it. I guess you could mean RISC-V. Let's see if RISC-V has been in the news recently, or RISC-V, I guess.
5?
Sorry. Yeah.
Is the V
sorry.
like? I just wonder. I guess this is a Roman.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I've heard that on podcast before, but I might be wrong.
Wasn't so the connection that I'm now doing with Go wasn't 115 the first one to target this as well?
Oh yeah.
So and whether or not it might be interesting to at least get into this, or whether or not it's completely abstracted away anyway for you and you don't have to consider it.
There has been progress in improving the stability and performance of the 64-bit RISC-V port on Linux. Okay, so Go OS Linux, Go Arch RISC-V 64. It also now supports asynchronous preemption. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening with these small processors and for devices. Like I'm only in the Raspberry Pi world, having a small. I even try to be ambitious and like have a project where I would order like hundreds of these small ones without. What's it called again? A Raspberry. Yeah, today is the day where words fail us. But this small one where you can buy it for like $5, but you're only limited to one per person, and then it's without anything. You have to even add your own Wi-Fi and some ports or solder something on to really make it usable. But they would be really nice for something cheap to teach people. Sort of half embedded. At least you have to kind of like boot it up with an operating system first and then put your code on and then get Hello World. And that probably takes a couple of hours, but that could be really interesting as something to do. So
are you using TinyGo for that?
No. I think when I wanted to do this, it wasn't so important also because I'm in the JavaScript community exactly what. I think JavaScript would even be more accessible, to be honest, for the type of audience. For example, Free Code Camp could be an idea to have a workshop like this. Does not mean you cannot also use it in parallel or in addition with Golang for sure. Yeah.
Because the other wishful thinking approach would be to introduce Go by having some sort of need for an embedded project where C is king and you can bring out TinyGo and see it working.
Yeah.
And with way less hassle, potentially, though this needs more experience than with embedded programming itself.
For sure. The Raspberry Pi Zero is the name. So the basic one is the Pi Zero, and the Pi Zero W is the one with Wi-Fi. So you're unfortunately limited to, I think, only one per customer. And yeah, okay, 10 euros here, but still a super cheap computer. And the specs, let's go one page back.
Yeah, there are several manufacturers.
Yeah.
Different boards.
And Christian, did you try TinyGo?
No, because although I do have some small SPCs, those that I have, they're all for Linux-based systems because I wanted to be on Linux and then have the regular Go and with screen and touch input and everything. It would be curious, though. I'm lacking the corresponding pet projects to use to have a need for these small devices. The one thing that I did was writing my alarm clock in Go for one of these small boards, run OpenGL in Go and controlling the sound, essentially playing some music in the morning. And
that's good.
I wanted to avoid the making the low-level effort with all the screens, so I chose the first approach to have Linux-capable SPC and then work as on a regular desktop.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of small projects you can do, and now that I think about it, maybe for me that kind of, again, limited time, but if I'm really interested in something and especially something new, I find time. And I have I don't want to call it a weather station, but it's basically just a Raspberry Pi with a hat of a e-paper ink display. And I used some open source code that I modified to just show the current temperature and the max temperature for the day. You also have some displays where you can show like I did that in the beginning, but then my Google credits ran out that I would show the distance to Grado, where we often vacate in the summer, and the distance to Graz, where we have family, with the current traffic. So then you would have to hook into this Google Maps APK, and then it costs money, but it was fun. And that is something that I could redo with Golang, and try to, as long as their packages are interoperable with, if there are some Golang libraries out there that can interop with. Now the names fail me, but I have a Google Doc where I've noted down the whole process, and I could figure out what I would need to have to support, or just start from scratch and follow someone else's approach. That would be nice. Yeah.
What do you use to get the live traffic information?
That was Google's, what is it called again? Google SDK map. They've split up the services, right? So it's the traffic something. I would have to look into, I can probably log into my Google account.
It's part of Google Maps then.
Yeah, it's part of Google Maps SDK. Yeah, it's one of those services. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be available in Go as well. They have good SDK for the Google products.
Yeah, what I would need sort of like the interoperability for is the e-ink screen. That cost me, I wouldn't say problems, but it's very low level if you have to do it yourself. So I wouldn't start that. I would like something in Go that I can interact with, that communicates with those Linux modules for me, so I don't have to.
Right.
Yeah. The Google Maps part was easy. That's just API stuff. Yeah. Cool. Let's just put up Tiny.go on the screen since we referenced it. It's a project to bring Go programming languages to microcontrollers and modern web browsers by creating a new compiler based on LLVM. Cool.
And it's, I believe, also recently or comparatively recently supported by Google as well now.
Okay. Cool.
There are quite some curious demos from talks from various conferences on YouTube where in one recent case, one of these tinkerers with his son together showcase various applications with all these small devices running in Go. And
nice. And they have 7,000 stars on GitHub, so it must be amazing. That's good.
Well, it's also in combination with drones as well. So I don't know whether or not it was the same person or a different one in the Gopher conference. He showed application with running Go code on a drone, including image recognition and all this fun stuff.
Wow, nice. Supported boards and targets, a lot of Adafruit, Arduino, Nordic Semiconductors, so Bluetooth, or that's semiconductors, but they do a lot of Bluetooth stuff as well, I know. Nintendo Switch even. Okay, so if I guess I would have a hack, need to have but then the Switch, that's another world. Like I have a Nintendo Switch and I played a bit Pokemon, and I've always been in the scene of, it's called Pokemon RNG, where you're basically manipulating or cheating your way to perfect Pokemon because you need them for competitions. Long story short, Nintendo Switch is, and the last time I checked, there was only some Nintendo Switches that are now not produced anymore because they started shipping them with a upgraded firmware where you could have some sort of like live memory hack, which people are utilizing to cheat or to manipulate. But the only way you can sort of like, it's so in high demand because there's so few of those out there that people have even gone as far as making Discord bots and stuff where they are live streaming, or not necessarily even live streaming, but they will send you a code. You're the next in queue, and then I will trade this Pokemon with you that you just told me to trade with you, specifying all the stats of the Pokemon, and then a Discord bot will facilitate you writing a command, and you're in a queue, and then the whatever they hook into in the computer is then manipulating the Nintendo Switch. So it's quite fascinating world. So I digress, but just to give you a tidbit of the world of if you want to be into hacking or ROMing your own Nintendo Switch, it's not as easy as it's been in the past with the older devices. We mentioned Adafruit. So since we're on this topic and if people don't know the company, they're awesome. They also have, I think they still do, but I think I partially got to know them via a YouTube channel. And I think I always almost want to say Ada Lovelace, but I feel like that's someone else. Ada something is the one that started this whole thing, I think. She's a little bit of a legend in the this community, and she's also done a lot of those YouTube videos and grown this into a big company. So if you're into ordering all sorts of parts for your own projects, check out Adafruit. The only problem might be that they're in the US, so with shipping, but if you order a bit of stuff together or share with others, it's a really great resource. And back then to Tiny.go, they also are manufacturing a lot of devices themselves that they have produced. So I recommend to have a look.
Okay. Well, if you want to look at the different side from the world, the one boards I have are from Friendly Arm. Mm-hmm. They are from China, I believe.
Okay. Friendly Arm. Like this?
Yes, yeah.
Cool, nice. And then, of course,
small boards.
Nice. And then you, of course, have Deal Extreme and Alibaba Express. I've only actually ordered from Deal Extreme. I think I was in Norway at that time, but I think they have free worldwide shipping. It's probably similar, though I do feel that since you've been using this and they sort of at least white label their own stuff or make their own stuff, I don't know the Friendly LX story. These seem to be a bit more catered to like one segment, while Deal Extreme is like, your big China electronic shop where you can get everything. So not necessarily to be compared with Adafruit or Friendly Elec, but you can get cheap stuff if you're willing to wait 5 weeks to get it. Cool. So yeah, Adafruit is basically just Adafruit here. So I really recommend if you're into or want to learn stuff about embedded computing or those kind of things. Or maybe the wrong term, but hardware segue, and how do we call it? Hardware and software, low-level devices. What do we call this kind of stuff?
You mean general firmware, or what do you mean?
No, I mean more like you would have a.
You mean embedded programming?
Embedded programming is maybe the best word, yeah. Because I feel embedded is a bit like it kind of comes with some assumptions that it has to be hard and really like specific for this device with like C program stuff that blah, 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 blah. But so embedded programming is, I'm trying to look for a better word than that, where it encompasses hobby projects on a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino or.
Okay, well, that would be the maker community in general. Or what
maker community, yeah.
The maker community, because this is where it's all about hobbyists.
Good point. Also, and maybe last thing there, MetaLab. If
Total
you're into that kind of stuff.
That's a good one here in Vienna.
Yeah. I don't know how this with Corona. They haven't aktuella stand.
So I think the meetups at least went online. I think it's closed, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that would make sense. 1 Meter Abstand zueinander. Seit Montag Änderung Kraft. Okay. So I think something happened now in September. Maybe they opened up a bit, but I think they're forced to lock down again now with the new rules in Vienna. But for the future, if you're into the maker community or just want to have a look, you can go here as long as, I think most days from a certain time, there will be people there that have opened it, that have a key, and you're free to go and have a look. Though if you do want to like hang out there regularly, it is encouraged to maybe become a Mitglied, that you become a part, you pay monthly for the Verein, for the organization, but I don't think it's even pushed or mandatory, but it would be a nice way to give back if you really like what they do there. So it's a space with a lot of everything from like a 3D printer to like what's it called, CNC machine to cut out stuff to like just work desks for electronics or other stuff. Or you can also just sit down with your laptop and talk with other nerds about nerdy stuff. I'm not trying to have any prejudice here because I'm a nerd, and maybe it's not the right word to use, but definitely a lot of tech geeks and makers that like to talk about those things and help each other. Yeah.
Speaking of helping, Total Root has a comment. Yeah, right, about how to get into all this.
So perhaps the cheapest entry into the world of Tiny.go is the ESP8266 or the Node MCU, which can be ordered on AliExpress for 2 to 4 euros. Both can be used easily for DIY home automation. Thanks a lot. And if you know, in the world of Tiny.go, okay. So I'm sorry, something that can be easily Googled. If you have any resources to share on how to get started, specifically with maybe people have done projects and shared how they did it, feel free to also share that Total Root. But that's an awesome tip of information, piece of information. Sorry. Cool.
So how do we now, with all this information, go into our daily life, paid life?
That's a good question.
Sell home automation projects.
Yeah, I think like.
Rob?
No, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to make the jump that Rob, you in the beginning you said that Rodolfo, you read it at least, the Go Time. So did we cover some topic, or do we have some cross information from Go Time regarding how to get started in Go, or how to bring Go to people?
There were some ideas. So we already mentioned one, which is exactly to do like a small isolated project, be it a command line or like a smaller part of the system that nobody's gonna care.
Sneak it in.
Yeah. So I think the other thing, which I pretty much agree, is that like whomever works with a mainstream language like Python, Ruby, or C, Java, if they look at the Go, like they're gonna at least be able to read and understand it. So it's a language that is relatively easy to pick up. So compared to, I don't know, maybe like Lisp or some other like with a language with a more like different syntax, it's harder for people to pick up than like Go, which is just the same as like C and all that family of languages. So I think that was one way. I think maybe the other important thing is, and the idea that was discussed in the podcast, is that like we also talked about this, that we don't want to just like start using the language just to satisfy our egos or something, but maybe try to look at problems that Go would solve well and try to sell it as like, I can solve this business problem, and like, let's try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, like we already learn and we can like do something else instead.
I remember also that was emphasizing like if you are in a, what do they call it, a crunch time environment where there's always crunch time, so it does not really any crunch time anymore, it's just stress. If you in that kind of environment or company are able to introduce Golang, and you get to write Golang every day, crunch, it's not going to be fun anymore. So maybe I don't think he said that, but maybe then the solution is more changing a company or a job than it is to sneak in Go, because it might not make you, it's not this dream future that you think it would be. If I could only write Golang in my current job, might not always be the quick fix. Yeah.
Yeah, and as always, change your company or change your company. No, change the company.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're already gone for about an hour, so we can also now emphasize that if anyone wants to ask any questions or have any topics to discuss, loved your feedback, Total Root. So if you have anything else to point out, feel free to do that. And barring that, I think we'll be ending this live stream shortly. Do you guys listen to? Yeah.
I also still haven't forgotten the seed of idea of a talk idea to talk about linters as well. So haven't forgotten it. So work was in the way so far to get enough time to think about it properly.
No problem. So think about it over the next week, and we'll talk again. Maybe you can give a talk in
Right.
in November. Okay, cool. What did I want to say? Do you guys listen to any other Golang podcasts or industry podcasts that mention Golang?
I don't.
Not at the moment.
I'm not listening to the technical podcasts. I only help making one, though I'm not consuming them.
Yeah. Which one are you making? Let's plug it.
Okay, thank you. One of the hosts of Developer Melange, a podcast about everything software development in the 21st century.
Nice. So where can people find it?
It's on developermelange.com.
Developer Melange.
Melange, yeah, the Viennese coffee, the traditional Viennese coffee. Or it's on Twitter as well at Def Melange. That's Def Melange.
Let me do what? Okay, yeah. It's just the controls here. It tells me to remove the stream, but I actually need to add it. So I'll do this and
that's it.
Remove us. Developer Melange, yeah, and awesome. And you mentioned a Twitter account, so that's this one.
And I managed to get a few Go references during the talks as well.
Nice.
So we sadly I wasn't wasn't part of the episode where we had a guest talking about Rust. So I was curious, simply not for the antagonistic perspective, but rather see a different perspective.
Nice
to get this one up, but yeah.
Philip Ken, we've had, I think it was the Golang meetup. I can't be 100% sure. I've at least had him give a talk on one of my meetups. I will have to check now. Cool. Jupyter Broadcasting is sort of like the closest one I hear to every now and then. I normally go through phases where I listen to like almost only from them. And then I have phases where I don't listen so much to them. I see they've picking up, they've picked up Coder Radio again, which kind of like went out of, which was not, it kind of stopped, at least with the current hosts, a while ago. And it was announced to be dead or stopped. So it's awesome if they've started again. That's one of my favorite programming podcasts. And one of the hosts always talk good about Golang, but doesn't really get to use it as much, even though he works freelance. It's more up to the customers. And if you're into the Linux world, they will always cover here, like if there's new releases or if there's big stuff happening in the Golang community, it gets a mention on these Linux news segments as well. So they have my highest recommendations, and they have been going for a long time and now been bought up by Linux Academy bought them, I think, last year. So they have a big financial backing now as well, and they're doing a great job. Cool. Anything else? Parting references, links, plugs, or mentions? With that being said, I think it's our cue to say good night. It was nice. We've been going now over an hour, and it was so awesome that Christian could join us.
Thank you as well, yeah.
Maybe we can make it a recurring thing, because I guess it's less work for you to just show up and talk than to prepare a talk, even though we would love to see
right. So well. When it's three people, then you have at least a little bit more dynamic, from topics and the discussions perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, good. Thanks again, both of you, Rodolfo, Christian, and I'm happy to be back after the break. We have another meetup scheduled for November, and there will be one scheduled for next week. I just have to remember to do that, so I'll make a mental note now. The one in November is for the November 10th, and no talk scheduled yet. So anyone that are interested in giving a talk, even if it's just a 5-minute talk. Normally, if you think, I can talk 5 minutes about this, In my experience, it will take 15 minutes. So that's also fine. If you're a beginner in giving talks, feel free to still reach out. I can help you shape a talk or mentor you in giving a talk. If you are new to Golang, it's also fine. We haven't had so many beginner talks, and I know we have some beginners listening to or visiting our meetups. So that would also be interesting. So anyone that could be interested, please feel free to reach out, and we'd love to help or love to have you give a talk. Totoro is saying something here. So to be honest, I haven't really used Tiny.go, but here's the docs. I've used another Go framework called GoBot for a ESP8266 web server, and that's the link there. So I'll leave them up on the screen for a tiny bit. Yeah. Good. Great. I think we can leave it at that. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks again to you guys for helping host this, and have a great evening.
You too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Rob.
Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Bye.